Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you a long way out from UFC 189, but it seems to be José Aldo versus Conor McGregor is the fight that everyone is talking about. Of course, everybody knows the July 4th, big holiday weekend. Vegas shows is always the big WrestleMania of mixed martial arts. It is the big weekend to go into Vegas. They pack it up with the fan expo, which is a lot like WrestleMania Access and a lot of things like that. You have lots of shows packed through the whole weekend. It is a fighter's dream to head out there. It has been moved to the weekend after 4th of July to July 11th. UFC 189, the show is going to be headlined by Conor McGregor versus José Aldo. They had a big press conference, last week with basically Conor McGregor stealing one of José Aldo's titles. Conor McGregor is one of my favorite fighters. He reminds me a lot of Sheamus. He reminds me a lot of Ric Flair. He's a very outlandish fighter. He just really speaks whatever he wants. There's a lot of people who really are a lot of Conor McGregor doubters out there who don't really believe he's as great a fighter as he says he is. He's a guy that really talks himself into having these big matches. He's a guy that keeps on trying to pick the biggest opponent he can get. UFC, I don't know if it's because of what his ranking was or if they don't really believe in this guy. They really have not given him that real big fight yet. If you can remember back to the Boston show that was the UFC Fight Night, which was the headline versus McGregor versus Seaver. Of course, that was a fight that was won in the second round by Conor McGregor. He did TKO Seaver in the second round. That was a big fight. And of course, there he climbed out of the cage immediately after winning the fight, got right into José Aldo's face, who did not really take this as any kind of a threat at all. He really just laughed it off as what he's going for. But basically, Conor has been running his mouth ever since then, back in January. And he won't really shut up about it. I don't know if this is basically José Aldo, basically getting to the point of where he's going to snap. But José Aldo is definitely Conor McGregor's biggest opponent that he's had so far. This is a guy that has not lost a fight since November of 2005. But basically, Conor has just done just about everything he can do to get underneath José Aldo. This week, we've heard from Conor McGregor's trainer, who's basically said and called the match, basically saying that Conor McGregor is going to stop this fight in the first or second round with a guillotine chokehold, and it's going to be a submission win. That is the big news that is, sort of flowing through UFC right now. Is just basically like, how can this guy really call out that he's going to get a submission? Conor McGregor isn't really even known as a submission fighter. He's only won one fight in his career via submission, which was a rear naked choke back in 2012 on a Dublin, Ireland show. But we're going to have to see where this goes. Basically, this is going to be the headlining fight for the biggest one. There's a lot of people flying into Vegas. Who knows if, people from Ireland are going to be dancing and drinking into the early morning in the streets of Vegas, or will they be basically, crying out their tears that they, fly down to see their hero. I wish this is something that I could really be a part of, seeing this as, Vegas is so close to where I'm at, and Conor is easily one of my favorite fighters since, going in and really becoming a UFC fan and checking out a lot of these shows. But we're gonna have to see. This is definitely gonna be one of the biggest fights. They're really pumping this up because this is the WrestleMania of mixed martial arts. This big 4th of July weekend show, even though it's being held a week later. But we're gonna have to see. It is the big fight everyone is talking about: Conor McGregor versus José Aldo. Let's get it on. Who's your winner? Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here tonight, talking about the big Conor McGregor versus José Aldo fight. Basically, this fight is being put on halt. This, of course, is UFC's big, huge WrestleMania show that they build up every year, and this was the main event. This was supposed to be the fight of the year, and involved in his training for the big fight, José Aldo has broken his rib. He has asked UFC for 3 weeks to push back this fight from July 11th. That would put this into August. No word on what UFC is going to do as of right now. They haven't even made a public statement about what is going down. But honestly, this is a fight that I was really, really looking forward to. I can't honestly say that I've seen all of Conor McGregor fights over his UFC career, but he is a guy that has really captured me with his charisma. the character that he's made for himself, his fighting style inside of the octagon. And I'm not the biggest fan of José Aldo, so I am really, really looking forward to seeing McGregor go into this fight and see if he does have a chance to win. I understand that a lot of people say that Conor McGregor hasn't beat the biggest names inside of his career, and he's just talked his way into a championship shot, which is something that I'm normally really negative about. McGregor's last fight was the Seaver fight, a fight that he sort of won very, very easily, and Aldo is a guy that has held this championship for years. I believe he's got 8 straight, title defenses. Him breaking his rib in training and asking for 3 weeks sort of mans up and gives me a lot of respect for him. To not run away from this fight. He wants to keep this featherweight championship. He doesn't want to see them strip him. He doesn't want to see them go into a different direction. He doesn't want people to think that he's trying to duck Conor McGregor and try and run away from what is going on. News broke about this today from being down in Brazil with José Aldo going through camp, and it spread very, very fast. Like I said, this is their main event. This is their WrestleMania of UFC. So them being knocked of losing this fight is a big deal to UFC. Seeing where they'll be able to place this fight, no doubt in my mind, it'll still headline a pay-per-view. It just won't be a part of fight week. The Wrestling Observer setting up camp with their big, what do they call it every year? I guess it's like their get-together, their convention, I guess is what they call it, where you can go have, dinner with Granny, and then you get dinner with Dave and Brian and the whole Q&A and everything like that. I'm not the biggest UFC fan to want to be able to spend money on a trip, but in order to hang out with the other people from Wrestling Observer that are subscribers and everybody that's on the board and things like that, I've wanted to go to one of these for a few years just to see what it's like and see what's going down with everybody else that's there. But we'll see what is added to UFC in the big show coming up July 11th, what they do to capture the main event and try. I don't think they really need to save it, because I know that everybody is going to be at the show already. I believe it's UFC 189, but we'll figure out what they do. So peace out and see you guys down the road. Hey, what up, everybody? Steve Breach coming to you today, fresh out at the gym. I got to go start my Monday by going to work, and wanted to catch up with a little bit of an update on the video I put up the other day talking about José Aldo and his rib injury. It's a little bit funny. I mean, no matter what reports you read and who you listen to, if it's a Brazilian doctor, they're saying that Aldo's ribs are just bruised, and he's going to be all right, and he's going to be able to fight. If you talk to an American doctor, they're saying that definitely that Aldo did get into a sparring session, and his sparring partner accidentally did break his ribs, and they're broken, and that leads a lot of talk to about what's going to happen with UFC 189. Of course, this is big fight week in LA, the big WrestleMania of UFC, and there's a lot of money riding on this. This is the main event. I mean, this is Brock versus Roman Reigns. If you're a wrestling fan, I mean, this is what they've all built to. It seems like this match was named like 6 months ago, and so many times you hear about UFC fights being named, and the fights two months later. But Conor and Aldo have both been training their asses off for this fight, both trying to get into the best shape and the best fighting shape of their career, because for Conor McGregor, this is the fight that's going to be his legacy. I mean, for the time he's been in UFC, his mouth has done the talking for him, and he's finally talked himself up into this big match. And Aldo, who's been champion for years, and beat anybody who's come at him, McGregor's done everything to try to intimidate him by winning that last fight against Seaver. He climbed up over the cage and got right into Aldo's face, which Aldo laughed at him. So this has the big setting for a big, huge fight. UFC hasn't come out and said that they're going to pull the fight, but there's been talks of maybe, moving the fight until October. But then you've got all the people from Ireland who have already bought their plane tickets and their hotel stays and their UFC tickets to go to this fight. That, what are they going to do to make these fans from Ireland happy? They're not going to want to turn around, go to this fight in July, and then come all the way back in October. So, as of right now, Mendes has been named as sort of a backup in case Aldo pulls out. But this fight has become so personal between Aldo and McGregor that I don't think there's a chance in hell that Aldo's going to pull out of this fight. I mean, even after the injury was named, Conor McGregor has, called out Aldo to stay into the fight, calling him a pussy, saying that, his game plan was never to go after the body, never go after those ribs. It was always, to go after the head and try to take his head out. But we'll have to see what goes down with this fight, because I mean, as you can think of anybody going into a fight with bruised ribs, you take a shot into those ribs, you're going to go down like there's no tomorrow. I don't know anybody who's had any kind of rib injuries, but it affects your breathing, and it affects your stamina, and even just one slight little touch and you're going to fall. So we're going to have to see what this builds up to. Obviously, they go into this fight, no matter what happens with McGregor, Aldo's always going to have that out, and the rematch will always be named pretty much as soon as the fight comes out for Aldo to get healthy and Aldo to come back. UFC will always, pat Aldo on the back for going in there and fighting, even if he is not 100%. But, Aldo, even if he's not at 100%, he's going to be damn good. He's a damn good fighter. He's been on top of that division for a long time. Dave Meltzer was talking a lot about how a rib injury is going to affect his stamina, with him, weight cutting to get down to weight for the fight, and then, being able to get his body back to 100% before fight night with that 24-hour turnaround. So, lots of eyes are going to be on UFC 189 from Las Vegas that weekend, but I think even more now, seeing what this fight means. Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. We're days away from UFC 189, and there's been a change. The main event of the biggest fight of the year for UFC is no longer going to be happening. For months and months, we've been building up José Aldo against Conor McGregor. They even went on a world title tour where basically they were doing press conferences all around the world in order to push this fight and how big they wanted the buy rate to be and how big and bad they wanted this to be. Honestly, when it comes to UFC, you don't get a lot of big-time rivalries, and Aldo versus Conor McGregor really fit that mold. But due to the rib injury that was reported just days ago, it's come down to basically José Aldo's out of the fight. ESPN on SportsCenter had Dana White on and basically said that he's pulling Aldo from the fight. He's not going to be able to do it. And even though we're days away, they're going to go ahead and put Conor McGregor in the main event of that show, and he's going to go up against Mendes. I think that, honestly, this is a big setback for Conor McGregor. I think that he's basically a really good fighter, he still needs that big win to go on his record. Probably the biggest win that he's got in his professional career is beating Seaver in that last fight. And even that did make a lot of people happy. Basically, a lot of people think that McGregor got this championship shot against Aldo, even though he was not the #1 contender, was because of his mouth, and basically because this is fight week for UFC in Las Vegas, and they needed a big main event that was really going to be able to draw. And even though Mendes is a great fighter, Conor McGregor seems to be the hot prospect right now. I'm really hoping that McGregor can back up what he has going on. Basically, he was denying that Aldo should have pulled out of the fight up until the moment it went down. Aldo was basically saying that he wanted to do it. So this is a real big knock to UFC. Definitely this fight will go down sooner than later. But it's going to have a hiccup in the road, and definitely McGregor needs to pull up and he needs to win this fight. So many times, with UFC, you've seen them pushing somebody, trying to get up to that championship shot, and they just take a wrong shot inside of the ring, and they end up losing their fight, and they don't get that dream fight that they were really building up. But McGregor's a good fighter. I believe in him. He's one of my favorite guys out there, so I'm hoping that he can beat him. I have to go back and I have to watch some Mendes fights tonight because off the top of my head, I know his name, but I can't remember the fights that he's been in, and I want to know what McGregor's going to be going up against. But McGregor said that his plan against Aldo wasn't even to attack the body. It was attack the head and try to knock him out. So we'll have to see what goes down. But fight night or fight week, I apologize. The WrestleMania UFC, big change. McGregor in. McGregor's always been in. Aldo's out. Mendes in.